What's going on YouTube? So the Civic Type R has long been known as the pinnacle of affordable performance compact vehicles.
But the affordability has started to become in question, especially with the limited availability of that Civic Type R, which is why rivals like this exist. The Hyundai Elantra N, which brings not only a more affordable price tag, but also more availability.
So we've actually had both of these for the past 7 days, and we want to know which one should you pick? Well, let's go ahead and dive in to find out. Now, sometimes life works out just perfectly, and this is one of those cases. We've been asking to have the Type R and the Elantra N at our home in Kentucky for quite a while, and these two brands just happened to accidentally send them at exactly the same time, which obviously that set us up for today perfectly.
Yeah, and in today's comparison, we are going to be doing it just a little bit differently. We're going to hit the feature highlights. We're not going through every individual feature, and we're going to, of course, be taking them out on a spin because that's really the main aspect of these two performance compacts.
But obviously we've got them side by side, so that allows us to really take a look at things such as the overall design. Starting in the front, obviously you can tell there are quite a few differences. Both of them are going to be pretty wide. The Civic is definitely really wide looking. It also has those exclusive details like the hood vent up top.
Now over here on the Elantra, you will also notice a very aggressive front end. It's going to be mostly blacked out though here for the in duty. We also have kind of some red, orangey red treatment down through the bottom and all throughout the vehicle. So let me know if you like that in the comments down below. As far as your headlights, you do actually get projector LEDs as standard equipment on the Elantra N, which is different than the Civic, which just gets the reflector set up instead.
Now, as we move on to the wheels, you'll notice these two look very similar. They both have 19-inch alloy wheels with a dark black finish, but there are some important differences on board. So they both have Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires. However, on the Civic Type R, they are going to be wider. This one is also going to have Brembo brakes. Obviously, both of them have the red brake calipers, and this is enhanced performance, but it is not a Brembo.
Now at the side of the Elantra N, it actually comes in about 5 inches longer than the Civic, but that's not the entire story. You'll notice that the Elantra N is actually a sedan body style. The Civic is based on the Civic hatchback version, so that brings up a lot of points when it comes to practicality, which we'll talk about in just a minute. Now as far as design elements, the Elantra N does have a wing spoiler on the back. It's going to be finished in a gloss black. It's not quite as big as the Civic Type R's. And then down here at the bottom, all of this is going to be nice and aggressive.
Yeah, so as you can see with this Type R, you have all that wonderful hatchback storage, making this the more practical choice for sure. And then of course, guys, look at this giant wing, really stands out, and also the triple exhaust here in the center. Let's go ahead and take a listen though and compare the sounds.
So both sound good, but definitely in our opinion, the Elantra does have a little bit better of a sound to it. But as far as safety systems, I do want to point this out. They both have most of your safety systems. However, it's only the Civic Type R that has adaptive cruise control. But let's go ahead and dive into the interior quickly before we take them out in a spin.
If you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
So let's get into the quick interior comparison. I'm going to go ahead and start it up, of course. Again, really like that exhaust sound. And we're going to just kind of cover some of the main differences that you would expect to find between these two models. Now, they are going to have both pretty nice cabins, but one of the main things that you're going to notice is the seating differences. The Elantra N has a leather-wrapped seat here on the outside edges with suede on the middle part. We also have illuminated N branding. I really do like the way this seat is, and one of the really important features that it includes is heated seats. That's something the Civic Type R does not include at all, so that's a pretty important feature difference between these models. Now, as far as other things worth pointing out, I do want to talk about your shifter. We have a nice leather-wrapped shift knob, however, I do prefer the full metal setup in the Civic Type R. Now moving up, as far as your tech differences, this is a slightly larger screen setup in the Elantra N versus the Type R. However, we're not going to have wireless CarPlay or wireless Android Auto. So that's a modern convenience feature that I think might bother some people to not have. As far as other things worth pointing out, you can get a moonroof if you choose the Elantra N with the dual clutch transmission, although this manual model does not have.
Now moving to the Type R. Red, lots of red. I hope you like red because this is how you're going to get this interior, a full suede red bucket seat. These are a little bit more aggressive than what you get in the Elantra N as well. Firing it up, you do get that nice exhaust note right from the start. And as far as the interior, this interior is really a lot more solid feeling and mature and sophisticated than what you get in the Elantra N. Now, as far as what we get inside here, one of the things we really like is the fact that this has racing shift lights in the gauge cluster itself. It is, of course, reconfigurable. And then Mason was mentioning earlier, but the real metal shifter, even though this gets very hot in the summer, it just has a spectacular feel in the hand. You're also going to have an electronic parking brake with brake hold. Now, another thing that's different about the Civic is the fact that this has a 12-speaker Bose sound system compared to the 8-speaker system in the Elantra, and it does sound a lot better when you're cranking up your tunes. As far as the display, this is a 9-inch display, but we have wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which is unavailable in the Elantra. In the rear seats, neither of these are going to be luxurious, but you do have better materials here in the Type R, and you also have 2 cup holders.
Now over here in the Elantra N, you're going to find about the same amount of space. One thing that you are missing out is a central armrest, but you are going to get 2 USB ports and seating for 3 here in the back. That's something the Civic Type R can't say.
Now obviously we need to talk about what is under these 2 hoods. We'll start with the benchmark Type R. This is a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine with 315 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. That's going to be paired to just the front wheels, but we do have a limited slip diff, and we also have a 6-speed manual transmission. That's the only way you can get the Type R.
Now over here on the Elantra side, we're also going to have a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder motor. It is going to be making less power at 276 horsepower, 289 pound-feet of torque. That being said, according to Car and Driver at least, this Elantra goes 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds and the Civic Type R 4.9. So pretty much performance is very similar between these 2 models. We're also going to have a limited slip diff. The choice between a 6-speed manual transmission or a dual clutch automatic as well, if you prefer to go that route. Fuel economy comes in at about 24 mpg combined. But enough about the numbers. I think it's time for us to get these 2 out on the road because that's where they really come to life. So much fun.
Yeah, we decided we'd just go ahead and put it in plus R mode because why not? That's what we've been living with this week for the most part, because it is just a blast when you take it out on a back road like we're doing right now.
You gotta love it. Now, of course, like what we said at the spec dump, what's going to be under the hood of this is a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder engine. It's going to be making 315 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque, and boy, is this thing just so much fun to drive on a back road. And really, that acceleration is a great example of how quick this feels behind the wheel. When you get behind, when you sit and drive this vehicle, it just seems almost way faster than those power figures would suggest, that's for sure. And there is up to 60 miles per hour in the Hyundai Elantra N. And I have to say, it just puts a smile on your face.
Oh, yeah. So, of course, like we talked about at the beginning, this has a special 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine with 276 horsepower, 289 pound-feet of torque. Those are very good power figures. And honestly, a turbo 4-cylinder has no business sounding as good as this one does.
I agree. I think this is one of the best sounding turbo 4-cylinders, not even factoring in for the money. I think this is just one of the best sounding turbo 4s that you can buy, period. It sounds so good, and as you'll see later on in this drive, it even gives like some theatrics and has some pops and crackles, which I'm just a huge fan of. You hear the pops?
Yeah.
Yes. This thing sounds so good.
Sounds ferocious.
It's absolutely intoxicating. And, you know, one of the things that I just want to point out is that most of this vehicle's main competition, I'd say, would maybe like the Honda Civic Type R, that type of thing. It does not sound as good as this. So that's definitely a big benefit for this Elantra N. If you like the sound and the theatrics to go along with it, this might be your best choice.
Now, in terms of sheer handling and just steering response, we have to say that the Civic Type R is going to be the better option. So when you go into your Plus R mode, that just firms things up to a ridiculous level. It basically eliminates all body roll whatsoever. Also, the fact that this has wider tires, I think allows this to have just a little bit more grip overall. It makes you feel like you could never lose grip. I mean, this thing feels like the limits are so high. We did actually get to test it out in the past on a racetrack, and we can say that indeed the limits that you can push this thing are unbelievably high.
Yeah, we actually rode along in a hot lap with the chief engineer of the Civic Type R. So, yeah, we very much pushed it to the limits.
Yeah, if anyone knows how to push it, it'd be, it'd be him.
And it was very shocking, the capability of this vehicle. And finally, that truck turned off from in front of us, so we could actually have a little bit of fun in this Elantra N, and fun we will have, that is for sure. So as we head around some corners here, I just want to take a second to talk about overall driving dynamics when it comes to this vehicle. The Elantra N, of course, is no regular Elantra. They have done so much with the suspension, bracing, and all of that to really just make a very capable performance package here. As we go around some corners, you really just see it stays super flat. The steering has a lot of nice feel to it, a lot of heft as well. Overall, after living with it for the past 7 days, I have to say it's just nothing but a joy to drive, that's for sure.
Yeah, this thing rips. Now, when it comes to the suspension, yeah, look at this. Really fantastic stuff here. Now, as far as the shifter compared to the Elantra N, this is got a shorter throw for sure. This is going to be kind of a clickier sensation. It really just snaps in. It feels a little bit more intuitive with the clutch engagement point, as well as just the shifting sensation. Overall, we think this is going to be it's a little bit more enjoyable and a little bit more intuitive, like I was saying, in your day-to-day driving.
I'm actually going to cycle it into comfort mode. And I think this is a great place to just talk about overall ride quality for the Type R. Like we said, we've lived with this for a full 7 days at this point, and after living with it for that long, we've been on a bunch of different road surfaces. Of course, it's not going to have like a S-Class ride quality in comfort mode, but having the adaptive dampers definitely helps with your ride quality. You can certainly feel a difference between Plus R mode and comfort mode. It makes it pretty much normal driving experience. It's not going to like rattle your teeth out or anything, so I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, this is livable on the day-to-day. Yeah. The Plus R, like I said, do not use that on the highway.
Yeah, I can't imagine hitting a pothole in Plus R mode. That would be that would be really bad. Now, one thing I also want to mention real quick is that these seats are really comfortable. Just looking at them, you might not expect them to be as comfortable as they are, but they have a lot of plushness to them. My only complaint is the fact that they are not heated. They probably should be heated, especially at this price point. This is definitely a vehicle that you can drive daily and not, feel like you're making a huge compromise. Is it going to be the smoothest riding vehicle? Absolutely not. But overall, in combination with the suspension, these seats, I think it's definitely something that you can live with on the daily and not feel like you're compromising too much.
All right, let's talk about pricing, because this Type R is going to cost quite a bit more. This is stickering for about $45,000 today.
And meanwhile, this Elantra N with the manual transmission is sticking in at only about $34,000. So we're looking at about an $11,000 difference between these two models. And that is not factoring in the fact that the Civic Type R is pretty hard to find. So a lot of times dealers might have the temptation to mark it up. So I think you're really not going to deal with that too much here with the Elantra N. And I think that also leads us to our conclusion of this comparison as which one we'd put in our driveway. Drew, which one are you putting in your driveway?
Ultimately, I prefer spending time with this Type R. I think it's the benchmark for a reason. It really is just spectacular to drive on a daily basis. But of course, again, comes down to that price, which could be upwards of maybe $15,000 if you pay a $5,000 markup on this. Yeah. And that is still a lot of fun to drive as well.
Yeah, I have to agree with Drew personally. After driving them back-to-back for 7 days, the Type R is better. But is it worth that price difference? That's going to be up to you guys. Now, if you're looking to buy a new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes, because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation. If you'd like to take advantage of that, a link is provided in our video description. We also have a pinned comment at the top of this video. And that is where we're going to leave off on this comparison video between these two hot, compact performance vehicles. Let us know which one you're taking in the comments down below. That's the whole reason we made this comparison. We want to know your opinion, so be sure to leave us that comment down below. If you're new to the channel and haven't hit that subscribe button already, we would appreciate you hitting that subscribe button and joining in on our Car Confections family. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.